Welcome to Motorcycle Adventure Dirt Bike TV. My name's Dave Darcy and I'm the shooter producer of that channel. I'm also the editor at large of Australian Adventure Bike magazine, so I have a lot to do with adventure bikes. For those new to the channel, we have very detailed reviews on bikes. We don't just ride them around the backyard, we don't just ride them on tar, we ride them for thousands of kilometres, and I encourage you to have a look at our motorcycle tests. Some of those are the most watched in the world. We also do long form videos of movies, of adventures that we've done and serious adventures. London to Sydney, Road of Bones, up into India and all over Australia. So that too is another area that's worth looking at my channel. Tonight we've got a special guest, Peter Mansbridge. Peter has a number of firsts. He was the first to buy a Ducati Desert X. He was the first to ride one across Australia, west to east, through the outback, through all the rough stuff, 13,000 kilometre journey. And tonight we talk to him about his experiences on the Desert X. What worked, what didn't, how was his bike set up, and a whole range of detail. And detail is the word. If you want to go down a scroll hole for 15 seconds, this is not the video for you. This is an hour in length. However, having said that, I've chopped it into chapters. So you can just scroll along and pick the bits that you want. For example, the area towards the end of the video on bike setup and some of the issues with the bike and some of the things that Peter would like to change is very interesting for Desert X users. But even if you don't want a Desert X and you wanted to talk and think about bike setup for going on a big adventure, this is a great video for you as well. Peter Mansbridge, welcome to Motorcycle Adventure Dirt Bike TV. So great to have you on the show because you're a fair income dirt adventure rider. I mean, you're a sweep for Nick Selick. You've ridden a dozen bikes, maybe more, I'd say, over your years of riding. You've just taken the Desert X across Australia through the desert and it was really crappy when you went there. La Nina's on, you've had mud, dust, crap. If there's anybody out there at the moment who knows the dirt orientation of the Desert X, it's you. Look forward to talking to you at length today about all things Desert X. So Pete, just give us quickly just a bit of your background in terms of your riding.
Yeah, Dave, look, thanks for having me on. Look, yeah, my background, basically, I was out of bikes for many years and I got back into them in 2016 and I bought a BMW GS650 and I went on a machine ride. And that was my first one out of Port Macquarie. So that was the first stepping into adventure bike riding. And that was where I kicked off on there. So then from there, I progressed from the GS650 to a Africa Twin DCT. And then from that Africa Twin DCT, which is a 2017 model, I bought new. I then progressed up to a 2020 Africa Twin Adventure Sport. And then at the same time I also had an AJP PR7, I've got a KTM6, I had a KTM 690 in the garage, and then these were coming out and obviously it was something I thought, yeah, I might get my hands on one of these, so I did put the order in. Once I heard from Nick, I'd put the order in, and yeah, I was surprised. I bought a bike sight unseen, no one knew what they were like or anything.
Yeah.
I was a bit sceptical going from a DCT, which was an auto, back to a manual. And then, yeah, the only thing that I was really looking forward to was that drop in weight, because I went from a 285 kilogram Africa Twin Adventure Sport DCT down to this 223 wet. And one of the biggest things I know was when I was riding was that weight difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made the biggest difference. So that's my thing back into the, that's sort of my progression into the adventure bike world, yeah.
Yeah, but you got a couple of firsts. You were the first in Australia to buy a Desert X, the first to get one delivered. And then you were the first, you just basically got it. Tell us the story. You basically got it and then you said, stuff it, I'm going to ride across Australia. Or had you already planned?
I'd already planned it actually. Nick Selick, I'm friends with Nick Selick because I got onto the machine and stuff and the machine rides, and as I tell the people, those rides are very addictive. And I've done all of his Australian rides, but Nick was the one who told me, look, these Desert X's are coming out when he got linked up with Ducati. And he told me, he said, and he gave me the date when they were going to be released to be able to take orders. And as soon as he told me that, I was on the phone straight away to a dealer, said, bang, he take. They didn't even know, and I went, no, and I went to him, put the phone down, and I had Nick on speakerphone, I said, tell him about it, and then I ordered the bike. From there, I said to Nick, I said, I'm going to take this bike across Australia. I said, I'm going to go east to west. Well, it was on an hour, you know. We had a dinner. It was on a machine Great Divide ride from the Hunter Valley to Mackay. Serge was there from Ducati Australia, New Zealand. And I told him what my plans were, and he knew about it then. And we got pretty excited about what I was going to do, and and I was waiting for the bike, and I was itchy and everything else. So yeah, it was definitely something that was in the pipeline before the bike even turned up.
Wow. So so tell us a little bit about the trip. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? That's the
So I picked the bike up on a Friday from Fraser's in Newcastle. I then went home to Anna Bay. I took it to my local mechanic. I got the tyres changed over to Motors Desert Hard Trains. I then took the bike down to Sydney to pick up a spare fuel bladder to take on the ride, because I had to get some Ks up to get the first service done. So I went down to Sydney, picked up that, come home, and then that was on the Friday. On the Saturday, I'd spent the day fitting some accessories to the bike.
Yep.
I like my dash. I had to redo my dash,
Yep.
but also I made up my rear pannier racks.
Yes.
So I could carry on my luggage. Did that on the Saturday, had that finished. Then on the Sunday, because I'd got the uni filter,
Yes.
and I got that was another world's first.
That's
there.
another world's first. The
First customer uni filter.
foam, or the first foam oiled filter from Unifilter. So that's
Yes.
one thing, two firsts we share in common. I had it for the Red Rooster. You got it for
So
the
I,
Desert.
so I turned up down at uni filter, and they've gone, Nick was in here yesterday. I said, yeah, I know he was. I was in there, where's mine? So they come in the uni filter, and I put in, and it doesn't have a pre-filter. It was pre-filter. So I went to Nick's on the Sunday, and which is at Port Macquarie. We fitted the filter, because he showed me how to get the tank off and the hoses and everything else with the tank, which a lot of people were concerned about.
We'll talk about that later.
Yep. Put the filter in, and then went up to Byron Bay, stayed there the night, and then the next morning, which was the Monday morning, I was booked into Desmo headquarters at Byron Bay with Arthur Davis to do the first service on it.
Right.
When I was there, Arthur was kind enough to fit the crash bars for me, because I didn't have a set of crash bars. I was waiting. So Arthur fitted the crash bars for me. Jim, his mechanic there, did the service on it, but also welded a larger plate on the base of my side stand.
We'll have a look at that later.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that. And then from there, once the service was done, I went up to the lighthouse, as you do, and get the photo taken, and off I went.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was, yeah.
So give me a quick summary of where you went, and what I'll do, I'll post a map up so people from overseas can get a good idea of where you went, and then we'll go into the details, because they don't have an understanding of the outback and how tough it can be.
So I went from Byron Bay, which is the most easterly point of Australia, to Steep Point in Western Australia, which is the most westerly point in Australia. The distance overall was about, was over 6,000 Ks anyway, to get across. I can't remember their full numbers now, actually, I think. But so I went from here. My first night was at Lightning Ridge.
Wow.
And then from Lightning Ridge through to Wanaring.
Yes.
Wanaring's on the Burke to Tibooburra Road, to stop the Wanaring, and I had to stay there because of the road closures. And then I got up from there, I went through to Tibooburra. From Tibooburra down through to Maree, down through the Cameron's Corner, down the Strzelecki to Maree.
Yes.
From Maree, I had to do a slight detour actually
Yes.
to Adelaide.
Yes. We'll get into that later, but
We will.
basically you got up to your neck in mud,
Mud,
and we'll come back to that.
yeah. And then from Adelaide back to Maree, back up to Hawker. From Hawker, I went through to Erdnadata.
Yes.
Stayed at Erdnadata, then from Erdnadata I went up through Mount Dare,
Yes.
Old Endata Station, through the Binge Track to Alice Springs. Alice Springs rear tyre fitted, and then Alice Springs down through to Ayers Rock, Uluru, and then from there straight across to Warrakurna Roadhouse. Stayed there tonight. Did something there, and then from the next day I went to Warburton Roadhouse. Stayed the night at Warburton Roadhouse, and then from there I went up the Heather Highway and Gun Barrel Highway
Yes.
across to Carnegie Station.
Yes.
Stayed at Carnegie Station, and from Carnegie Station I went down to Kew, which is heading towards Geraldton. Got to Kew, stayed there tonight, and then from Kew to Geraldton, pulled into Geraldton, had tyres front and rear done on the bike there, and then stayed there tonight, and then from there up to Overland Roadhouse on the turn off to go out to Steep Point
Wow.
I stayed there the night, and then the next morning I was up early, and off I went for the 180 something k's out to Steep Point.
Wow. Mate.
And yeah, when I got to Steep Point, actually when I was coming into there, I was rounded this thing and I could see the sign, and it was just,
Mate, that's
I've done
an
it.
achievement. That's an achievement.
yeah.
So Pete, how many kilometres, how many tyres, how many air filter changes?
Okay, so with the air filter changes and the servicing of the bike, I made a conscious decision, and as I said to Nick Selick, I was going to test this bike out.
Yep.
And as I spoke to Arthur Davis and Jim up at Desmo headquarters, the two mechanics up there, I said, look, you know, they know more about Ducatis than anybody else does. And I said to them, will I need to take oil? No, you won't.
No.
Okay, with the air filter, okay, so what I did was I said, okay, my conscious decision is, the service schedule is 15,000 Ks.
Yep.
I'm not touching it until I get back.
Right, okay.
So I didn't touch anything until I got back, except obviously I went through tyres.
Yep.
So tyres, I've gone through, this is the third rear and that's the second front.
Yeah.
So I got rid of the original tyres when I first got the bike, and then put the Desert R trains on. So I'm not counting the first lot of tyres.
Yeah.
So I've gone through what I've actually put on the bike. So it's, yeah, third rear and 2 fronts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all up, how many Ks?
All up, I did over 11,500 Ks, 12,000 Ks on the ride.
So it cracks me up, you know, there's people with a first service, they come in for their first service, they've taken it to the coffee shop and back 30 times, they may have driven up the road, they might have gone on the bush once. We now need to go into this, these kilometres you did are arguably some of the toughest you do in Australia. The dust in Australia is extremely fine,
Yeah.
The mud is horrific. Let's get into the actual details of that.
I've had a lot of people say, like, you know, you weren't riding behind other bikes, therefore you wouldn't have got much dirt and the intake, blah, blah, blah. I can tell you now, our road trains in Australia, they're 4 trailers long, and as they say on the back, you know, caution overtaking, they are 60 metres in length, right? When you're sitting behind those or they're coming the other way and you've got to stop because you can't see in front of you, that amount of dust, I said, you know, I've sucked it into this bike. You know, into the filters, but, you know, we'll go into that after about the filters. I can show you the filter.
Yeah, that's not the only thing though. Just passing a grey Nomad with a caravan, that's 10 times more dust than a motorbike in front of you. You know, and if you're riding with a couple of people, you normally hold back to reduce dust. But on those big outback roads, you could be sitting at 80, like you've got to get past them, and the dirt you get there is about a half a day's worth of dust, isn't it?
And not only that, when you're riding on those tracks, on the dry tracks, which I was on, the dry ones, they're that soft, and the amount of dust that's actually just coming up off the bike, come up through the front of the bike, it's just a lot of dust.
Yes.
You know, there's nothing you can do, you just got to ride through it.
Our European friends call that, you know, that bull dust, we call bull dust, they call that fesh, and it's so fine. And one of the things with Australian dust is it's the finest in the world. That's why we have problems with bikes if they're not properly air filtered. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, you know, and when you're riding through sand dunes, you're kicking up a lot of sand and that as you're going through the dune. So, you know, you're going to get dust. But anyway, like, that's my thing. I say to them, well, you know, the bike has worked.
So the air filter lasted the complete
Yeah.
ride?
So the uni filter did its job. I spoke to the mechanics, obviously, when we took it out. Like, you know, they asked me, like, did you have any coughing, any sputtering, any? Nothing. The bike was running like great, fine. I had no problems with the bike at all. It just goes.
Yeah. So we'll have a look at that air filter in a minute. We'll look at that up close because, yeah, I mean, that's the thing with these uni air filters is they do the job, and even when it's really extreme. Yeah, so the other thing you encountered was mud.
Yeah, mud. Now, so not the first day, but certainly the second day when I left Lightning Ridge and I was going across, it rained from when I left Lightning Ridge, it was raining. When I was riding towards, and I wanted to go through to Brewarrina, get some fuel, top up there, then go up to Angonia and then through to Hungerford. And I was going to stay the night at Hungerford, which is on the Queensland border at the gate there. And there was dirt roads there anyway. When I left Lightning Ridge, I was on dirt roads. They were getting muddy. but it wasn't too bad. Like the rain was on them, but they weren't too sloshy, so I was doing okay there. It wasn't flicking up a lot of mud. But then I had to do a detour because there was water over a road and I was only 10 k's from a turn-off to go to get fuel. So I had to go back 150 k's to get to Brewarrina. And I was watching my fuel, I thought, okay, no worries, I was all good for fuel. But when I go back on that road, then it started to get a bit slushy. I thought, okay, yeah, it's not too bad, so it was all right. And then I got onto the main bitumen, obviously rain, the water's up, so it's flushed everything out.
Yeah.
Then when I got to Burke, actually I got to Brewarrina, the gentleman there said, look, I live at Angonia, mate. He said, the road's closed. So okay, he said, you're best off going up to Burke and go that way. So I beelined it for Burke on the blacktop. Got to Burke in the rain. When I fueled up at Burke, a guy there said, mate, and he was a council worker, he said, the road to Tibooburra is still open at the moment. He said, but I don't know for how long. He said, we've had a lot of rain. So I left there straight away. I went, okay, I'm going.
Wow.
So that's when I hit the mud. It's 150 k's of bitumen from Burke to Brewarrina, what was it? Wenaring. But there's only 40 k's of dirt. When I come off that, they're doing that sections to try and get a bitumenised. The first 5 k's was just slush.
Oh no.
And I got on, oh no. So what I ended up doing was riding off the side of the road on the banks, V-banks, and I got in there. And it was the first time I thought, oh no, because I had it in wet. I thought, you know, I put into wet mode and I've changed the mode and I was like, I'll put it in the wet mode. And I was riding along the side and I was doing probably 20, 25 average K an hour because of the slosh and the mud and what have you.
Yeah.
But in wet mode, it was holding me. I was able to maintain the bike in an upright position and just keep plodding along through this slush.
Yeah.
But that 40 Ks took me nearly 2.5 hours.
Oh wow.
But then when I got there, it was, you know, it was up, it wasn't too bad. Like I thought, okay, it's all right. You know, I had no indication on that.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the road being closed to Tibooburra, because I got there and said, no, the road's closed to Tibooburra.
Yeah.
So some people had come in that night to Wenaring off the Whitecliff Road, and they said, look, the last 40 k's of the Whitecliff Road was the boys section, so that's the first bit I would hit.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'm going that way, because that road down to Whitecliff was open, and then from Whitecliff I could go to Tibooburra. So I had to do a 450-something K run rather than 190 Ks. So I can do this. So I had it out on the Whitecliff Road. I only got 25 K in.
Yeah.
And then she started showing this red light on the temperature control. I went, oh no.
So what's happening with the bike? The mud is flicking up into the radiator.
Into the radiator and getting into the fins of the radiator.
Yes, yeah.
Because it wasn't thick mud that's like clay.
No.
It was fine mud that was getting in and then going hard, setting hard because it's heating up.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd stopped, okay, let it cool down a bit, go a couple of 100 metres, do it again, stop, you know, cool down. I thought, I can't keep doing this. I'm going to destroy the bike if I keep trying to do that, because I had too far to go.
Yeah.
So I thought, no, I'm going to turn around, go back to Wenaring, and I'll clean the bike out properly.
Yes.
I turned around, I headed back, and I only got probably not even a K back, and she went straight down. Like, she went a hissy fit on me. The dash went lit up like a Christmas tree, and I videoed it actually, the dash.
Yeah.
The hazard lights are flashing, no fuel indication, no mileage indication, no speedo, no traction control, no ABS, so all my rider modes, everything, Gordsky. And I thought, oh, what the heck? Oh, so, okay, let's keep going. So I got on it, go along, and all of a sudden she just went bang. I just lost a whole lot, just went out under me because I'd come over like a little bit of a rise out near a corner. The road cambered off, and as it did, the bike just went straight up from under me. A bit of rider error, I suppose, too, because I should have controlled it a bit better. But anyway, because I lost all my riding aids, she'd gone down. So I took my gear off, picked her up, loaded her back all up again, went back to Wenaring. When I got there, I then hosed out all the radiator, and then I checked the temperature light, and it was fine, and it was reading a temperature.
Right.
Because when it was red, it just had dots under it, and it had nothing. So it was reading a temperature. I thought, oh, that's okay. But everything else was still on there. I disconnected the battery, waited a minute, nothing.
Right.
Disconnected the lead for the dash, tried it all, nothing. So it was still just same. I could ride it. I had full power, all my gears, but all the aids are gone and the hazards are flashing. And it was still in wet mode, so I couldn't change modes. I couldn't change nothing. So I thought, oh yeah, okay. So off I go, but because they didn't have the riding aids, it really didn't matter about the modes. It was just like an old style bike. So then old mate says, oh, by the way, he said, I forgot to tell you this morning. He said, the road to Tibooburra is open. I said, when did it open? He goes, oh, 5 minutes after you left. The missus come and told me, but she only found out this morning as well. So I could have saved myself the hassle going down the mud. But anyway, so I took off from to Tibooburra, but the first 3 or 4 Ks was just slush. But after that, I was kicking dust.
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, yeah, okay. But she's just going anyway. And I thought, yep, so I'll put up with it. So I kept going, no, I've got to do my ride. I've got to get this ride done, you know. So I got to Tibooburra, and then when I was there, I was texting Nick Selick, checking up on me, you know, as he usually does, my mate Nick. And I said, yeah, look, I've had the problem with the bike, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, hang about. He said, I'll get back to you in a second. And he got back to me. Nick, and this is where it comes really handy having some people.
Who know?
Nick had got on to the technicians in Italy.
Yes.
And he's texting with them, and they're going, oh, well, try this, try that in the morning. So in the morning it was turn the bike on, go 300 metres, stop, turn it off, wait a minute, turn it off. Do this like 3 times. Anyway, I did all that in the morning, didn't work, so I just beelined it. So no, keep going. So that was at Tibooburra, so I kept going through the Cameron's Corner. And on my way through Cameron's Corner, I come past the guys, about 5 or 6 guys on bikes, the Beamers and what have you. But I tell you what, their heads in there snapped because as soon as I've come along like that, they go, what the, bang, and it snapped around like boom, and they've seen this bike going through and they're going, well, that's one of those new Desert X's. And she's going, wah, 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 as I'm going, you know, showing off a bit to them in front of them, but because she had no rider aid, so I was just letting the back go. So anyway, I kept going through the Cameron's Corner, refueled up there, and I had to fuel my bladders up there as well because a 520k stint from Cameron's Corner to Maree. But when I was going down the Strzelecki track, the wind was hammering and she was just getting pushed all over the track because it didn't have any rider aids and everything else. So I could have backed off, but I didn't. I just kept going hard on it. I was sitting on the average speed along there, I think, come out on my relief was about 90 something k an hour. So I was, you know,
you're clipping along.
Clipping along.
Yeah.
Got through to Maree, and then I had phone coverage in, and Nick rang. I was talking to Nick, and he goes, "How did it go?" And I said, "Look, that stuff didn't work this morning." I said, "I'll try to do what the technicians wanted." I said, "But you know," he said, "Well, the only thing you can do, mate, is go to Adelaide."
How far is Adelaide from where you are?
Now, from Adelaide, from where I was at Maree, was 680 something k's.
All right, so you blasted down to Adelaide. You got down there. What did they find?
A 50-cent fuse.
Oh no.
Well, I reckon they're worth 50 cents. It's only 15 amp fuse.
Oh, you're kidding me.
But when they hooked it up, the mechanic that he hooked it up, the computer, he's doing it all, and he's talking to the technicians at Ducati. And they're going, no, this one, that one. He's going through it, and he pulled the demo bike in. I went, what are you doing? He goes, I need to look at the demo bike too, and he pulls it in. And they thought it might have been a CAN bus unit that had gone on or something like that. But they were going through and checking wiring, and they were saying, check this fuse, check that fuse. Well, it wasn't matching up.
Right.
So what we actually found out was the wiring diagram they were looking at was pre-production. So then the mechanic there goes, I found the fuse, and this fuse is the same as the demo bike fuse. He says, so that diagram's wrong.
Wow. Yeah.
So then they found it, and once they changed that fuse, it just reset everything back to normal. There was no error codes, no nothing, it just reset. So it was something that, and it took me, I got the, timing down and everything else. But as I said to Nick, I said, look, I don't mind doing something like that. I said, going down that distance, taking the time and everything else, I said, because if people learn something from that mistake, then fine. And it was a learning curve. So, and I was happy to say, okay, go back on my bike, because me and my blonde Italian babe we're out of there on the road again.
Yeah, and I guess that's the point, isn't it? That with all new bikes, we've got to learn them, and the people back in Italy have to be listening to the riders and modifying or changing things or being aware of them. And I guess that's the thing with Ducati. They're determined to make some dirt-oriented adventure bikes, and this sort of direct feedback makes sure that they nail it. So out of that, you'd take some fuses now.
Well, it's actually got spare fuses in the bike.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No, there's spare ones there. He goes, and the mechanic at Matt is his name down at Adelaide. He goes, Pete, he said, that's the 15 amp fuse. He said, that one right there. Okay.
Right.
He said, so whatever does it again, mate, it's that one. I said, yeah, but the thing was, what caused it, Matt? And even Arthur Davis back at Desmo headquarters at Byron Bay, he did the same thing. He pulled his demo bike in when I showed him the video, and he pulled that fuse, and it did exactly the same thing, and then he reset it.
Yeah.
So it's something that we've learned. But yeah, like I say, like we've learned.
There's one thing I remember going across the Simpson in the wet. Like when I mean wet, like the valley floors were 10 inches of water in it, and that the mud out there is slightly salty.
Yes.
And I had these weird lights coming up, and it may be something to do with that. Like it's the fluid is a little bit more, the mud is a little bit more conductive. Yeah.
I think with this one, from talking with Arthur at Desmo headquarters, and he, like I say, he knows the Ducati motors and everything. We believe it was just one of those things. It was just coincidence, basically.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm putting it down to coincidence because they thought it might have been the fans getting clogged up with mud and blah, blah, blah. But I had no real mud build up behind. And not only that, when I cleaned the radiator out, the temperatures were going back down. So the fans were working.
Working, yeah.
So if the fans are working, then obviously the fuse was already blown. So they weren't working on that circuit.
Yeah.
The traction control, so that fuse runs the CAN bus for the traction control, the ABS, and a few other things. That's what I found out.
So you've done all these Ks, Outback miles. That's a completely dirt-oriented adventure, and all Australian adventure riders know that that's a fair income test of a bike. And for our other guests throughout the world, we'll go through some of that footage. I've got a bit of file footage there and show you what it's like. It's a difficult gig, and it's very tough. So you come out of that, what are the things you would change with your Ducati? Like, for example, a lot of people are saying that the fairing is too low or it's shaking. What are the things that you experience that you'd like to change on your Ducati?
Okay, the three things, and basically only three things realistically that, I shouldn't say three things because I have changed, like I changed the mirrors, I put my double takes on and things like that.
Yeah, we'll go through those.
But the three things that I've told Nick Selick, who's the product genius at Ducati, three things I would like on this bike. One is an adjustable steering dampener.
Oh, we didn't go into that. We'll come back to that. Yep.
The other one is obviously fins on the radiator to stop the mud getting into the actual radiator.
Yeah, it's like a honeycomb sort of thing. Now, most of our bikes in Australia have fins.
Yeah, or most enduro bikes, like 690s, have to have the fins on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even my Africa Twin didn't have fins, but yeah, so.
Yeah, but it's much more effective for blocking mud.
Oh, absolutely, to have the fins. So I said the steering dampener, the fins, and the other one I said to him was, and this is just my personal opinion, even the original crash guard or bash plate, and the upgraded one needs to come back, I believe, to cover the catalyst on it, because I did on the gun barrel go up on the side of a track because I wanted to go bypass the section, snotty section. When I did that, the back wheel sunk in and the bike was sitting there and I couldn't get it off, so I was trying to move it out. But then I could smell something from underneath me.
Yep.
And I'm an ex-fiery too, by the way, and I said, that's not good. So I looked down, because the bike was sitting there, I just hopped off the bike, pushed it over, dragged it back down on the track, and then moved along further because it was sitting directly onto the dry grass.
Yeah, so this is another little trick for new players in out west, is that those grasses out there are explosive, and you could easily, what you're saying is you could easily set the bike on fire by sitting low in the grass. I mean, I've seen cars set on fire like that. You would have seen that, just simply sitting in grass in the outback, and that's a classic. So so get back to the steering damper, because we didn't talk about that because you hit some really tough conditions.
So with the steering damper, like when I left on my first day, I was doing an enduro section. It was clay, Rossi runouts and all that type of stuff. If the bike was fine and that going bang, bang, bouncing around, the steering damper, the stock steering damper worked really good in that type of situation.
Yeah.
But when I got into the softer stuff, like the more sandy and the gravelly type stuff, that's where I would like to dial it up a little bit more, especially when you're hitting corrugations on like the gun barrel highway and the header highway. It's corrugations that are really, really deep corrugations, and you're really feeling them. But the rocks and the gravel that are there are really soft and loose, and they're about 6 inches deep above those corrugations. So you're driving through it, but it just kept pulling and pulling and pulling. If I had a bit more where I could dial that pressure up, it would have taken a bit more ease off me. I mean, I'm 60 years of age. That's my
Yeah.
one of my problems.
Yeah.
You know, you get to be old.
You and me, brother. You and me.
But it would have, I reckon, saved me. I put it down like twice on the Gunpowell Highway. That was the only time I laid it down twice, and that was because I was down. And so I wasn't going fast,
Yeah.
but it was enough to put it down. So that's why I believe that steering down. And the other one was when I got to Steep Point going out, it would have made a bit of difference. There's one big snotty dune there that catches people out, and that was the one where, yeah, I would have liked to have had it there.
Yeah.
But other than that, the bike goes good.
So how you found the screen? I mean, there's a few people whinging about that. I noticed you've had the bike now for, what, 15,000 Ks, and you haven't changed anything on the screen.
No, I won't.
No.
So honestly, I will not change that screen. I've seen people get this. There's a taller screen they can get, and then someone mentioned about cutting it down shorter, and I went, well, no, because I mean, you can have a look at my navigation setup, but I couldn't do it shorter. Not only that, I can see over the thing, and I did 11 and a half. My last day riding, on coming home, I went from Broken Hill to home.
Wow.
11 and a half hours in the rain, and it was 1,156 kilometres was the trip. I did 11 and a half hours. So we won't say anything about speed cameras or anything else. But it was in the rain, and my front of my body, like I didn't get
Yeah.
water coming at me, so I was still, I was okay.
Yeah.
Like the screen to me, I even riding down this morning, like I'm sitting on the freeway there, 110 on cruise control.
Yeah.
I use a Bell MX-9 Adventure helmet, and I don't have any problems with it buffeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard a few people, when I was on this ride the other day, there were a couple of people saying, you know, that they were getting buffeting, but when I looked at their helmet, like they've got really quite significant peaks. But yeah, it's something I know there's a number of riders talking about it, but it's interesting from your perspective, you know.
I don't know whether that could be taller riders, or if they're sitting on, and they're too far forward and their head's above the dynamics of the wind.
How high are you?
I'm only 178, 177,
Oh, so you're the same
178.
height as me.
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't seem to be getting it.
No.
Yeah, stop. There was another thing I saw, Pete, that you put up on Facebook the other day on the, what is it, the Ducati?
Ducati Desert X Owners Australia Facebook page. Yes.
That's a great, for those who own a Desert X or are considering getting one, that's a Facebook page or a group worth getting on. But I noticed the other thing with this bike is the belt. And the
yes.
belt drive. So talk me through that, because I looked at it, it was kind of dusty.
So, yeah, people were complaining about a belt drive. Well, I can tell you, I laid it down on, and I've got photos where it's sitting on that side in the sand, the dirt, and we took the cover off, because like I say, I hadn't done anything, took it off at the service, the 15,000 K service, and the belt was absolutely perfect condition. There's not in the little ridges of the belt, there's no knocks, no chips, no dings, no nothing on the belt. There's no dirt inside there, like as in rocks sitting in there.
Yeah.
There was dust in there, yes, and on the actual, I think Jim, the mechanic, Jim up at Desmo headquarters, and both Arthur believe that it might be there's foam in there, might be for sound deadening, for emission, or you know, for standards, whatever. There was dust that was sticking to that foam.
Right.
Yeah, so inside the cover, all we were able to do was just blow it out, give it a rinse out, and also with the outer casing that had the foam pattern, just give it a rinse.
Yeah, so it looked, the whole thing looked covered in a fine dust, like all the belt and stuff, all was covered in a fine dust, but it's just the dust.
And as Arthur said, the inside there, the bearings that the belt runs on, they're all sealed bearings.
Well, no different to a wheel bearing.
Yeah, so the dust is not going to get in and really affect it.
No.
So, you know, that's the thing, it's not, you know, it's not pounding. And when you looked at those bearings, it wasn't right into those, it was just a dust on the more of the external parts, you know. So, yeah, and anything that might have had a bit of grease or something on it, well, obviously the dust is going to stick to that.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, Pete Mansbridge, it's been brilliant to have a chat to you, and now we get into the next interesting bit where we do a walk around the bike. But, you know, you've got a great story and really interesting ride. And I look forward to viewers seeing this, because you've actually done it. I mean, there's so much stuff on YouTube where people ride a bike round the block and they're suddenly, you know, expert warriors on the thing. And, you know, YouTube now is just full of crap, and you know, to talk to people who've actually done it and you know and walk the talk.
I will say a couple of things, Dave, and this is what happened whilst I was on my ride. I come from Oodnadatta and I was going up towards Mount Dare.
Yeah.
And as I did, I run into two guys who were just coming out off the Simpson.
Yeah.
They were on their way to Mount Dare. One of them was on an KTM 890, it was
Yep.
a new 890. And his front end on it, because there's 4 bolts that hold that front cowl up like that,
Yeah.
he'd lost all 4. And it was
Oh,
all
no.
zip tied together.
Right.
And then I went, oh, yeah. He goes, oh, he said the other thing was, he says, on top of every sand hill, he said I'd stall it or stop it and whatever. He said then I had to go and start it and then reset all my settings again. I said, have you not got the dongle for your KTM? And he goes, no, I didn't buy the dongle. He goes, what about yours? I said, mate, this thing,
Yeah.
it's just set and forget.
Yeah.
I said, I've set it and I don't have to worry about it because it just remembers everything and it stays that way. And he just looked at me and went, and his mate sitting there on like, I think it might have been WR or something. He goes, yeah, it does buy one of these. So that was that guy. And then my riding that I was doing, like going through and I was loaded up,
Yeah.
there's no way I could have done that same riding on my Africa Twin.
Yeah.
The 60 kilos in weight difference was a big difference. And not only that, this weight on this is down low, right down low.
Yeah.
Whereas on the Africa Twin, once you starts to go a little bit, it goes. You can't stop
Yeah.
it. When this goes a bit,
Yeah.
you can actually hold the bike and get it going.
Yeah, I've only ridden the bike for 800 k's, but I threw it around a bit in the dirt, and that's the thing that struck out with me. It is that very low centre of gravity and beautiful handling. It's a lovely handling bike.
And even when I did the first day on that little clayey snotty enduro section, I put it into enduro mode and I changed the setting from low power to medium power. So I thought I'd give it a bit more, you know, as I would. And I went up through that. The bike just, I was jumping logs and everything.
Yeah.
And I was fully loaded going up the snotty hills, and it was a fair distance, like about 30 k's of riding in through it. But it was just doing it. And there's ruts and everything, and I was able to manage it. And then people have been talking about the quick shifter being a bit clunky. I haven't found that at all. What I have learnt from this bike, because of the quick shifts up and down, like, you know, that's it. And you can turn those off if you like, but quick shift, I found that if you're in the proper red range, it doesn't clunk at all. But what I did, the bike has actually taught me is, there's a few times where I was trying to quick shift up and the bike wouldn't let me, and it smacked me in the back of the head going, you're an idiot. Pull your clutch, pull the clutch in, try and do it. No, you're not going to do it. And then I go, okay, tap it down and go again, and then cool it, and then it goes, now I'm back in the rev range, it would do it. So the bike's then telling me, no, you're riding wrong, ride this way.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I say to a lot of people, when you get a bike, you've got to learn to ride the bike.
Yes.
The bike's designed to do a certain thing, and in the end, now, when I was going across like to Steep Point, and I'm in the snotty, sandies and all that, and tap, 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 it was just, we were poetry in motion.
Yeah.
Because the bike taught me how to use a quick shift.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about that, like quick shifters. Like I've heard so many people say on the Husky 701, oh, it misses shifts and all that sort of stuff. It actually doesn't.
No.
You've got to learn how to use the bike.
There's a certain range they work in,
Yep.
and if you're not in that range, they're not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Pete, let's start at the front of the bike. First off, suspension. Is there anything you do to the front suspension?
No, one thing I haven't done is, and I should have probably done, was dial the suspension in for my weight and what I was carrying, because when I did the ride, it was nice and soft, so I thought, oh, I'm not going to touch it, because I had all the weight on there, so it was actually really soft, and it was good to ride with it, actually.
Yeah.
And now that I've got my weight off it, then I should realistically get up there and dial it in for my weight.
Right, okay.
And my weight and just my tools. So if I'm doing a day trip around here, this is how it will go. I'll take my tools, the bike, and off we go.
That's a substantive toolkit. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
So let's get back to your thing. Ducati, you're listening, because this is what we're talking about. That's a honeycomb. It's not that useful, is it, in the mud?
No. And the thing is, the guys were talking about maybe putting a high fender kit on it, and then people were saying, oh,
No.
it'll flip too much mud up there. Well, hang about, guys. Like, I've got a low,
Yeah.
and it's still throwing mud up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing with a high fender kit, as they found with the Yamaha T7, is it started damaging radiators.
Yes.
So yeah, it wasn't as clever as what everyone thought. You know, it's got to be really sorted out to be done. Now, we saw the other day, Clubby and I saw a couple of bikes dropped, and this part of the the bike get damaged. Those crash bars, they're the Ducati crash bars?
Okay, so yeah, these are the OEM Ducati crash bars.
OEM, yeah.
Now, if you see, I got some photos where the bike's laying on this side,
Yeah.
on the gun barrel.
Yeah.
And if you have a look at it, there's nothing. And when I did that, I was doing probably 25, 30k an hour when I went down.
Yeah.
So there's nothing on it.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
You know?
Hasn't even got a scratch on it.
No, the other side's got a scratch because the other side's where I put it down in the mud.
Yeah. God.
And it's got a scratch because I had to actually drag the bike
Yeah.
to get it so in a position to stand it up, yeah. So, but I did put the bike down. It's probably, let's say 3 times each side. So yeah.
Yeah, okay, so let's move to the back of the bike. Hey, how good is that back brake?
Oh, I've never touched, I put it into the upright and that's it, done.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. Like, 3 times each side, nothing's out of shape
Yeah,
anywhere.
So I dropped it 3 times each side, nothing out of shape.
Nothing out of
Here's
shape.
another one for me. These foot pegs, I love them.
Oh, they're good.
Yeah.
Except you've got to be very, very careful because I've torn the crap out of my pants
All right.
from putting my legs down.
Yep.
Yeah, and it catches.
Yeah.
But
Mate, I'd rather
they-
have that than 2 smaller pegs. Yeah.
I stood on those for hundreds of kilometres through the corrugations and everything.
Yeah.
And when you're standing there locking your knees in and she's like that, because I ride on the balls of my feet.
Yeah.
When you got them locked in and you're doing hundreds of kilometres and it's shaking the crap out of you,
Yeah.
you know, you got your loose on the hands.
Yeah.
They were good. I did no, my feet weren't cooking like burning. There's no sensation like that. It was just, they were good pegs.
No, that's good.
Yeah, they're good.
So it had a luggage rack system. So let's kind of go through this. So that's a bit hybrid. It looks kind of familiar to me for
Hybrid.
some reason.
So the hoops
Yeah.
I bought from Barrett's.
Right. Okay.
But then I made up my own brackets to go on. Now, when I left, I didn't have this rear top rack on.
Right.
I only had these,
Yeah.
and then I had my giant little pannier bags on here with the clip-on frame.
All right. Yes.
Yep. And then I had 2 bags across the top there. And there was a times there where my 8-litre fuel bladders from ADV ones.
Yeah.
I had them, and one up on top and one sort of at the back
Yeah.
for the extra fuel. So that's how I carried my gear, was on here and across the back, because you take the back seat off, it's just like a flat tray on the back there. There's a nice
Yeah.
good area. So it keeps everything weight forward on the bike and down low, which is good about it. You haven't got anything sitting up at the back there.
No.
Which helps the bike.
Yeah. So while we're on fuel, you're talking about fuel bladders there. So how much fuel did you have on board? What's your maximum fuel you had on board?
So the maximum fuel I had on board was the 21 in the tank
Yeah.
and the 16 litres with 2 full bladders.
Right. How far did you get?
Okay, so probably my longest ride was like 520, which was from Cameron's Corner to Maree.
Yeah.
So I'd use the bladders for that. But when I got there, obviously I still had fuel left because I didn't need
Yeah.
all of the fuel. But yeah, I put it in. The other time I really used it was going. I used it to go from from Mount Dare, I filled up
Yeah.
to go into Alice Springs.
Yeah.
'Cause I wasn't sure on there about again, so I made sure I had extra fuel because I've had to do a few turnarounds on the trip. So I fueled them up there. So I used the bladders then.
Yeah.
Obviously got into Alice Springs. I didn't need it all, but I had enough to get in there. The other time I used them was from Warburton Roadhouse going up to Carnegie Station, because that was 486 Ks.
Yeah.
And I was going remote there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what my usage was going to be in there.
Yeah. So range all up for all if you banged it all together,
So,
be over 600 K.
yeah, well over, because I did, I was about 20 Ks, so 486 Ks was from Warburton to Carnegie.
Yeah.
I was about 20 Ks short of Carnegie, so let's say 465 Ks, say,
Yeah.
right? And I put my second bladder in there,
Right. Okay.
only because I wanted to get rid of it, so I put it in there. So I could have got in on my tank, which is 21 plus 29. I could have done the 486 on my 29 litres easy.
Oh wow. So
Yeah.
what are you getting out of a standard tank on this bike?
So, depending on your riding, obviously, but when I was doing, so from Erdnadata to up to Alice Springs, when I went through that way there,
Yeah.
I was doing like 4th, 5th gear. I was sitting on like 60, 70, 80 Ks an
Yeah.
hour type thing.
Yeah.
That was about the maximum I could get up to.
Yeah.
There, I was only using 4.7 litres per 100 Ks.
Wow. Okay.
So I was going really good through there. When I'm going down like the Streslet, you're up to doing the data, boom, you're on it.
Yeah,
You know, you're punching over 100, so obviously the fuel there's about 5 point something per 100
over
k's. So
five.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then the biggest one would be if you're going hard in sand, maybe you're going to lose a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah. So on the back of the bike, so you've got your seat, and then you've just basically got a back veranda. So let's have a look at your toolkit and everything there.
Do you want to come that side? I'll go this
Yeah,
side.
I'll come around here for you.
All right, so this is my back veranda.
Yeah.
So I've bolted this on actually because, like I say, it's my tools. And if I go with machine, I want to go on my rides. I usually carry all the tools for
Yeah,
everybody.
because Pete's a sweep for machine, so
Sometimes, yeah. And that's got 2 spare tubes. So that's 18 and 21
yeah.
tubes. My tyre levers are in there.
Yeah.
My little jack stand for the back here is in there.
Yeah.
So that's all in there.
Even if they're tubeless, you take a tubes anyway.
So when I got the bike, it comes tubeless. My first thing was I put tubes in.
All right.
I
just so
run
you could-
tubes.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's you. Yep.
Yeah, because when like I say, I stake the tyre on the gun barrel, but yeah.
Ah, there's a few goodies in here to look at. Look at this.
Stock oil filter,
Yeah.
they don't come with a nut on them.
Right.
So you can get these from Ducatis.
Right.
Arthur Davis, my good friend up there at Desmo headquarters at Byron Bay,
Yeah.
kindly gave me that one.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy, Arthur. I love Arthur. Tow rope,
Yeah.
just in case.
Some
Spare
spoke.
spokes, spare hoses, zip ties.
Yeah.
Usually there's a clean filter in there, but because I did the service the other day, this is my dirty one we took out, so we'll have a look at that after day.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Oh, we can have a look at it now.
Right now?
Yeah.
All right.
So this is the one you took for the whole ride.
This was the one. This was the very first one for anyone in the world.
The very
Went
first.
into a bike.
This is the very first Desert X Uni filter air filter
For a
and,
customer.
and it's done how many?
It was 13,000 k's.
13,000 k's through the outback of Australia. Let's have a look at it.
So that's taking it out, and obviously I'll grab it here.
I know it is horrible.
And that's
horrible
because
stuff.
it's oiled. That's why it's sitting there, because it's oiled, right?
Yeah,
Now we're going to turn it over.
yeah,
I've got
that.
my finger marks on it,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
underside of that was absolutely clean.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's amazing.
and that's the
isn't it?
underside.
Yeah.
that was
So
a-
that sits on top of that. So the green
That-
hasn't gone near it.
No, when we tipped it over, the actual frame and the holes and everything else are all spotless. So no dirt got down the side of the frame even.
Yeah,
So we put a little bit of grease around it, sat
Yep.
it in. So, because the Ducati one had about 5 mil slop in it,
right.
the stock one. When a Unifilter made it, they made it fit nice and snug.
Snug.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so nothing gets in there.
Now
So-
that's an interesting point you raised. Now we've had this problem with other bikes. You've got to be careful on KTM 690s. A couple of other bikes we're aligning filters and making sure you oil around the edges.
Yep.
So this is a very important point that Pete's raising here for Ducati Desert X owners. That's the trouble with the air filter. You want a nice, tight, snug fit in Australian conditions, and not only that, you want that grease around the edge just to make sure it's
Yeah.
completely sealed.
Like that's taken a lot.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Look at that.
Yeah, no, that's 1/4 inch thick in places.
But as I said, it didn't affect the performance on the bike at all.
No.
The bike's running fine.
Now, one thing that I'm really intrigued about, I think, let's come around this side of the bike, is this wheel nut. Now, mate, I think it's about 60 or 80 Newton meters torque for
The front.
for an 890, but this get this undone. I think it's something like 160.
186, I believe it is.
186 Newton meters. So if you're a Ducati owner and you want to take your wheel off somewhere out in the bush, you're going to have a solution. I bet you Pete's got a solution to that.
Okay, so
Let's have a look.
so on the Gun Barrel Highway,
Yeah,
I was 177 k's in,
yeah.
and I staked the rear tyre.
Staked it.
Staked it.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
I've got photos of that. So
Oh, hang on, can we? Yeah, let's just go through that, Pete, because this is the endless debate for dirt-oriented adventure riders about tubeless or tube. When you stake a tyre, and if that was tubeless, you've got some problems, haven't you?
because the hole in the tyre
It's too big.
too big, and not only that, I know from experience with guys on rides, if you get the hole on the side, on the shoulder of the tyre,
You can't fix
you can't. It'll just keep splitting. We've ran them with plugs after plugs after plugs after plugs. No, they don't hold.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you take it out.
Yeah.
You then got to patch the inside of the tyre.
Yeah.
Then you put your tube in,
Yes.
and then you ride off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I carry stock tubes as my spares.
Yeah.
And once I get the other end, then I'll go and find the heavy duty tubes again,
Yeah.
because that's why I can carry them on there. So
Yeah.
this is the 36mm
Yeah.
socket for the rear wheel of
Yeah.
the Ducati Desert X,
Yeah.
and this is the 30mm for the front.
All right.
Well, the front, like I say, Dave, it's only 60 something Newton meters,
Yeah.
but the rear, they do them up to 180 something.
And there's a reason for that. If you look at the actual swing arm, it's the design in the swing arm. It's a very light design, and it needs the strength of that
Yeah.
that fixing. What is it, 180?
186, I think it is.
186.
Yeah.
So how are you going to do it, Pete? Show me how you're going to do that. I can't wait to see this. Oh, hang on. He gets out more, but wait, there's more.
I was lucky. I
You're
was lucky,
lucky?
very lucky, actually.
Oh, what's this? He gets out. God, it's these little.
Now, there's no centre stand,
Holy
so
cow.
you have to use this.
Okay. Okay, you
Right.
make a stand.
Yeah, you make a stand, that goes up under there and
Yeah.
holds that. You
All
make
right.
sure you lock your front brake by putting a strap around it.
Just show that again to the viewers. They might not have seen that. So, yeah. So you undo that, right? So you're leaning the bike on the side stand.
On the side stand,
Yeah.
you're pulling you pull the front brake,
Like,
strap
yep.
the front brake,
Yes.
so it locks the front wheel in.
Yeah.
Then you just lift the bike. I usually get over there, just push it up, but
Yeah.
you get down like this, lift
Yeah.
the bike up and shove that
Yep.
up under there.
Yeah. 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 Yep.
And that'll
yep,
take the
getcha.
weight of the bike off the ground,
Yep.
right? And then it holds the bike.
Yep.
So you need that.
Yep. God, what's he got in here?
Now,
Holy. Yeah. So you got to
two
get
tyre
leverage.
levers, all right?
Got to get
obviously.
leverage.
But these ones here, I've got to open this up now, back into here. Where's my little thing? Where is it?
This is
Oh, what have I done? What have I done? It's in here. It's in here, Dave. There it is.
Mate, this is the $1 million question.
Dope. No, not that. What am I doing? So they're also my tyre levers, right? That goes on like that. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I take that.
Yeah.
See?
All right.
I put three of them together.
Three of them together, and then you get your leverage.
Yep. And I'll show you what I've got to do.
Oh wow! Now
That
let's have a look at the length of that.
That is how you get your leverage.
All right, let's have a look at it on the.
All right? It's in gear. Can you, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but that's
Okay,
it. No,
now
no,
that's-
don't do
so
it.
that's
but
it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So it's not that
that's
much,
how you get your leverage.
but it's not that bulky a tool. Like when I feel that, let's give us a feel of the weight of it all up. That's not too
That's
bad.
all aluminium, yeah. It's cheap like
It's
that.
aluminium. It's not too bad at all.
So that's my leverage.
Like that cockpit works out really flash. So you move this across. That's a whole different mounting.
Yeah. This is just basically a backup for navigation, because I don't really navigate off that.
Yeah.
I use it for my InReach.
Yeah.
That's what I use it for, basically the InReach function.
Yeah. So you can.
So you can see where I started Byron Bay over here.
Yeah.
Most eastern I went across. I'll just zoom this in if I
Yeah, just
can.
shrink it down. Takes the whole. Wow.
Now this here in the middle, you can see with the purple one there,
Yeah.
that's where I went up the binge track, Mount Dare binge track to Alice Springs, and then come back down
Yeah.
to come across to Ayers Rock Uluru.
Yeah.
This part of the Heather Highway was closed,
Yeah.
so I couldn't go in there. So then I started from here, this purple line from the Warburton Roadhouse,
Yeah.
up the Heather Highway, and then on to the Gun Barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah. Wow. Look at that. Mate, that's a staggering.
that's Geraldton, and I come up into Steep Point.
Yeah. Amazing trip, Peter. Amazing trip.
Good.
So, do you got this made up, or is this some sort of? Did you make this up, or someone made it up?
Now, the
for
guy's
you?
an engineer that did this. That was me. I made this up myself.
You're kidding me.
No, I did it at home on the Saturday night.
You're kidding me.
On the
You
Saturday, I
are
had to do that. That was
kidding
my
me, mate. That is so.
I had to do the rear guards, the rear racks, and I had to do more of this. And I go, oh no.
You're kidding me. You
I
did
it.
this.
So what I've done is I've got a plastic cutting board
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
the kitchen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I've sandwiched it with 5mm foam,
Yeah,
rubber
yeah.
foam.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what I did was, on the back here, there's 3 bolts that hold the actual dash unit on.
Right.
Sorry, the cover on. There's 4 bolts that hold the dash unit on inside that.
Right.
So I took it off, and what I've done is, you can see one of the bolts there.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
bolt there. That goes into one of the holes where that originally sits. So I've moved it off.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No, and then the lead for that plugs into the side there now instead of plugging in through the unit.
Wow.
So I did that, and then I was able to mount this on here because I prefer to have this here because I slide my phone in
Yeah,
like
I
that
get
to get it
you.
in and out.
Oh, mate.
So that's why I've done that. So
That's
that,
classy.
when I was on the gun barrel and the corrugations were going like this,
Yeah.
this was like that.
But
And
it's got give in it.
It was giving it, but I'm thinking, is this broken? So I stopped, and it wasn't. It was still solid. It was just that much movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the resonance over the corrugations. But it all held, and I've taken the screen off since I've been back, and I had a look inside that rear cover, and it was clean.
Wow, that's
So I was
amazing.
surprised. And all of it, the plastic, there's no cracks, nothing looks like it's going to break on me. So
Oh, mate.
it held.
Mate, I think you've just got Adventure
Good on you,
Rider of the
Ducati.
Year. Hey, I think Ducati will copy that off you. Hey, look at that
It
dashboard.
works. And
The sandwich board, what do you call it? The Pete sandwich board.
yeah, the sandwich board, I don't know, the communication board.
Mate,
But on the back, Ducati have got the USB socket on the side.
yeah.
But in there's another wire, and I'll show it to you right here. That's this little crimp on that wire. I think you can see it.
Yeah.
That's usually up in the back in there. I've just pulled it out down
Yeah.
there. That's another auxiliary. But I don't run it. What I did was I piggybacked my GPS into the USB one.
Right.
And then that's how I use the
I can see
USB for the
that.
phone, and the GPS runs in the piggyback off the phone one.
You know, it's interesting. I'm just noticing in there, I don't think viewers can quite see it where my finger is.
Ah, my
Yeah, I can see a USB, but he sealed it because USBs have a problem sometimes. They get dust and crap in them.
Yeah, and I usually do it on the end of the phone one as well.
Yeah.
That sealant, it's a really technical type of material. It's called, it's the blue stuff, Blue Tack.
Blue tack.
That's Blue Tack.
Ah, very technical.
So you can rub it off and take it away and rub it on itself. So it doesn't that hard to just say soft, Blue Tack.
Final thing, this tank bag, that's what you took across?
Yep, so this is the tank bag we took across.
Giant loop one? Yeah.
It fits on really well actually, like it sits down there nice, sits on here, goes. And what I did was, I had a spare strap at home, but to get the fuel, undo that. I don't even undo it actually, I just come to there and I
All right,
open
you
the tank
just
up
move it
and
over.
just fill it up.
Okay.
But what I did was I made a little strap to hold it so that when you let it go, it doesn't drop down.
Drop down. Yeah. Okay. Mate, that's good. Now that's, what one's that? It's not a Fandango, that's the other brand.
Yes, the little one.
Yeah, little one.
Uh,
I can't think
Diablo.
of it. Diablo, that's what it is. It's a Diablo. How could we forget that, Harold?
There we go. So yeah, so I have my gear. I had some extra gear that I carry in there, but I carry 3 litres of water on my back,
Yep.
and I had spare water also in my panniers.
Yep.
And I usually carry some food also on my back because if overnight, like I did when I staked the tyre, just overnight you got food and you got water, so you got enough to get by with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Peter Mansbridge, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And, mate, what an adventure. And, you know, you've collectively pushed the knowledge of Ducati owners who want to take these off-road. You've collectively pushed our knowledge about 100 miles in front of where it was. So, mate, really appreciate you coming
One of the
down.
big things, Dave, is you don't have to spend a lot on this bike
No.
when you buy it stock.
Yeah.
Pegs, all that, all done.
Yeah.
There's only, you want to upgrade your mirrors or whatever, so yeah.
Well, what did you spend on your lunch board?
Oh, you'd have to ask the missus. I stole it out of the kitchen.
Oh,
I think you get them from Woolies for about $2. They're coming a pack of 3. So, you know.
Oh, mate, it's great. I tell you the other thing we didn't talk about. These tank guards. They're good too.
So I got them put on after I got back. I
Oh,
ordered
right.
them offline, yeah, because all I had was these tank grips here.
Right. Okay.
They work. That's the easy grip. I like them because I've had them on my other bikes.
Yeah.
They work well. And then I put them on because I do, if you have a really close look, you
Yeah.
can say red dirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Still red dirt.
It
in
still rubs. It rubs, so I put these on to give it a bit more protection.
Yeah.
But other than that, from the amount of dirt it's copped, even when you look at the dash, and when we even lifted the tank off, there's not a lot that was stuck under the bike. Like even under the seat, it wasn't covered in red dirt.
Yeah.
So the bike's, I'm glad I bought the bike actually. Like I say, I got rid of my Africa Twin
Yeah.
while I was on the ride. That happened at Warrakuna Roadhouse. I was on the phone doing that, and I just sold my KTM 690 last week.
Beautiful.
And this is it. This replaces both those bikes.
Yeah.
So to me, this is it's at that point now where I'm comfortable to take this bike into that more snotty stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that impression when I rode it. We didn't do too much snotty stuff, but I thought I could. Yeah, I thought it was good. Yeah, the only limitation I felt was the bash plate, and there's the Ducati OEM bash plate. So, as you say, Ducati, if you're listening, that cat converter could. We just need to be conscious of that in terms of when we're out in the outback, and if you're sitting on some grass, it gets very hot and can potentially ignite. But that looks like it's built like a bridge anyway, so that's
Yeah.
yeah.
And the upgraded bash plate gives you more airflow too.
Yeah, I noticed that. All right, mate, that's excellent.
Cheers, Dave.
Final thing, Pete, you can't go anywhere in the bush without bark busters, can you?
Nah, you need your bark busters. They actually they saved me a fair bit because when I was on the gun barrel, I was getting flicked in the face. I put my visor in, but these things they stopped a lot of coming up over my hands.
Yeah, mate.
absolutely, yeah, they do work.
Yeah. No, they're bloody. They don't look bad too. They've got a good coverage too.
Yeah, they are. They're the big ones.
Yeah.
Storm.
Yeah. Storm.
Yeah. I wouldn't go to smaller ones. I go to Storm.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
they look good. Hang on, just have a look. Yeah, from the front. Yeah. No, they're really.
I
got a
noticed
good
you said
coverage.
on the media launch
Yeah.
they broke the stock ones. Yeah,
Yeah. They broke them for about 30 seconds.
exactly. So
No,
that's otherwise I would have broken mine.
Yeah, no, mate. No, and look, all bikes come with those plastic ones. They're just not meant for
No.
dirt adventure riding, that's all.
Yeah.